Stacks on her mind, grinding all day, hustle refined, chattering ceiling, G steers and untamed. Boss is her title, wealth is her game. Power in heels or sneakers on deck. Respect comes easy when you earn that check. From boardroom to businesses, she's got finesse. This woman right here, built for success. She's a bad bitch, and she signs checks. Built her own throne, what you expect? Dreaming real big, no limit, no stress. She's a bad bitch, and she signs checks. Oh, money moves, yeah, she runs the show. Oh, hiring queens, now let them know.
Song, because the lyrics to this song are fire. I just think they actually have such a great vibe to them, and it's a catchy tune, I have to say. That's why it's probably been such a hit. The song is Woman, and it's by Doja Cat again. I am an Xer, and as I mentioned, this isn't the music that I normally would dig out of the crates, but I was digging into the lyrics because I'm a lyrics girl. That's what we do when you're Gen Xers. We listen to the lyrics. And what I love about this song, when you kind of dig into the lyrics, is that she's talking about wanting to be loved and how women give tenfold, and then they're often overlooked and underappreciated for it. How many of you can relate? Anyway, this song really explores the challenges of being a woman. So who really knew? I certainly didn't, that Doja Cat songs actually went so deep. I never actually expected that. But ladies, listen up, because I thought this was a great song to dive into a very emotionally charged topic that we're going to cover today. And it's actually something very deeply personal to me. And I'll tell you why. It's about lending money to loved ones, to family, friends, lovers, and the list goes on. I find when you're a hiring woman, you can sometimes be a target. I think about how much wealthier I would be if I didn't have such a bleeding heart trying to help men I was involved with, family members, and so on. Folks, listen, coming from a single family home, like a single mom who had very little, I really knew how hard it was to go without. And I really followed my single mom's example in helping her community, even when she didn't have it. And I thought that that's what good Christian girls do, right? So even though I was someone who was essentially on my own since I was a teenager, since I was 16, when my single mom passed away, it didn't occur to me, actually, that I should be more prudent with my finances and that I was actually putting myself in financial harm's way, giving money and loaning money to loved ones who didn't necessarily pay me back. And you know what they say? If you want to lose a friend, loan them money. Hiring women, can you relate? Anyway, that's what we're going to talk about today. And if you've ever struggled as a hiring woman with saying no or feeling obligated to help or even lost relationships over money, this episode is for you. We're going to explore challenges that people deal with, the psychology of it, and also practical strategies for setting really healthy financial boundaries. Because your financial well-being matters just as much as your generosity. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's start off by talking about the emotional burden of building wealth. And I think that's probably a big one. Money, we know, can be a very sensitive subject, especially when you're the one who has it. I think probably lots of instant millionaires can probably relate to that as well. But as a hiring woman, you may feel like an unspoken, or depending on the type of community you have around you, sometimes very spoken expectation to help out those around you. How many of you heard this? You're doing so well. Can you help me out? Or it's just this one time. I'll pay you back. Or maybe even, you have more than enough. Why shouldn't you help? All of these types of messages can create this emotional weight that leads to guilt, that might lead to obligation, and even resentment. It's really important to recognize these emotions, understand them, and that financial success doesn't automatically mean financial responsibility for others. And I get that. I'm right there with you. confidant, high earning community. Now let's talk about the difference between loans versus gifts. Anybody out there understand the difference? Loans versus gifts. Because before you say yes to helping someone, ask yourself, am I truly lending them or am I giving to them? And can you actually afford to part with that money? So maybe you've had someone come to you and told you their sob story, and before you even got a chance to ask for repayment terms, they were sobbing or something. I don't know. But if it's a loan, we should be talking about repayment terms, right? So ask yourself, can you realistically expect to get the money back? Is there even a timeline for the repayment? And would the person who's potentially telling you their sob story actually sign a contract with actual repayment terms? And remember, want to lose a friend, loan them money? Well, will it change your relationship if they don't pay you back? That's a huge one. High earning community. Will loaning that friend actually cost you the relationship? Number 2, if it's a gift, right? Are you comfortable potentially never seeing that money again? Put that money in their hand and say, God go with you, right? Or will it set a precedent? And this is probably something to think about. I come from a immigrant community, and sometimes, the thing that you might be doing is you might be creating an expectation that you're a fallback for someone for their financially irresponsible habits. So will it set a precedent for future asks? Again, I've been there, and I can tell you helping loved ones can ultimately lead them to resent you. So if you have this expectation of financial help, if they have this expectation of financial help, it can undermine those relationships. So ask yourself, ladies, I'm talking to you. You know who you are. Are you giving from a place of love, or are you giving from a place of obligation? I'm going to say it again. Are you giving from a place of love, or do you feel obligated to give? Just think about that. So the other thing that we're going to talk about, and I want to be really clear with people, is a good rule of thumb: never lend money you cannot afford to lose, right? And if you're giving money, do it without any expectation in return, without expecting anything in return, including gratitude. So you might say, I did this, and I thought the least they could do is expect nothing. Confidant community, high earning community, give and go with God. So again, do it without expecting anything in return. And if you're someone who is thinking about this and saying, maybe I can't afford to loan that money, maybe what you really need to do is figure out how to say no with grace. Because I get it. Saying no can be very difficult, but it's actually necessary to protect your financial and your emotional well-being. So here's a few ways I've devised to decline and still do it with kindness, and do it with generosity, and do it with clarity. You know what? So practice some of these. I wish I could help, but you know what? I have financial goals I need to focus on right now. Or I have another one for you. Practice this one, high earning community. You know what? I have a policy not to lend money to friends and family, but I'm happy to help you brainstorm with some other options. Number 3, I can't provide financial help, unfortunately, but I can offer support in other ways. And then you can name those. My favorite is that my rule when family or loved ones ask for a loan is I don't loan money as a rule to family or friends. I can't loan you money, but are you asking for $2,000? Can't afford that, unfortunately. Here's $200 I can offer to help. All the best. All right. So anyway, whichever one works for you, but have a plan for those scenarios, because they might come up more than you expect them to. End of the day, you don't have to explain yourself beyond what you feel comfortable. The key is setting boundaries, and it doesn't make you selfish to set boundaries, by the way. It makes you responsible. So let me say that twice, all right? It does not make you selfish to set boundaries with your loved ones. It makes you responsible. So we were talking about alternative ways that you can support loved ones. Let's talk about how you can help them in other ways. So if you don't want to give them money directly, consider these alternatives. I consider it teaching someone to fish instead of giving them fish. So one of the things I like to do is offer guidance around budgeting. Let's look at your incoming and outgoing. Maybe talk about investing or how they can manage their credit a little bit better so that they have access to commercial ways of borrowing. Potentially, if they're going through a rough time, introduce them to job opportunities, mentors, or financial professionals. The other option is gifts, but with limits. Remember that $2,200 versus $2,000 offer? So, or you might just say, instead of cash, potentially cover a specific bill, or maybe offer non-monetary assistance like career coaching or childcare. It honestly doesn't always mean, helping doesn't always mean handing over money. It can also be really empowering, offering the others the opportunity to just stand on their own 2 feet. Remember, I was talking about that whole, is that person going to resent you if their expectation is you're always their fallback? Could that scenario actually lead to resentment of some kind in the future? You know what? Money and relationships can be so tricky, but they don't have to be damaging. It's all about setting those clear financial boundaries, allowing you to protect your wealth while still being supportive in ways that can align with your values. Again, I've been there and I know how challenging it is. But building relationships based on love, mutual respect, that's the relationship you want, isn't it? Instead of building relationships based on obligation and guilt. And I really think that relationship based on love and mutual respect, building those and cultivating those relationships, that's a game changer for the relationships you want. I highly encourage you to start building these relationships with loved ones now. You are worth it. You know, another great way I feel that you can safeguard your money from being accessible is put that money to work, girl. When your money is being invested for your long-term financial well-being, then you can also let your loved ones know your money is tied up and not available for loans or gifts. Typically, women tend to let their funds in their account just languish, just sits in their savings account. And I call savings account loosely. It's being just sitting there. And instead of being invested, it's actually leaving their funds vulnerable to attracting low interest, right? That's why I say savings is a little bit of a misnomer. But worse could happen, right? You could be out of money due to loaning money to friends or loved ones that just doesn't get paid back. So investing your funds actually creates that ability to multiply your wealth. And that's what's going to enhance your long-term financial well-being. Right? You deserve a much more secure future. So go make it happen. If this episode, High Earning Community, resonated with you, share it with a friend or a family member who needs to hear it. Maybe those people who that we're talking about here that may not know the difference between a loan and a gift. And don't forget to subscribe, rate us, leave a review of this podcast if it helps more high earning women like you to take charge of their finances with confidence. We'd love to know. DM us if you have any questions or even need support on your financial journey. Until next time, high earning community, thank you so much for listening. Keep thriving and owning your own wealth and build your financial fortune. See you soon. Take care, everybody.